think the whole world has been truly inspired by the strength of Ukrainian people. It's certainly inspired me and continued like the chance to work with all of you has just been incredible. And it keeps me motivated every day to keep this project going.
Hi, guys, and welcome to the House Call Vet Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison. I'm a full-time integrative concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles, and I help other vets to build their unique mobile practices on their terms. This podcast is for and by house call and mobile veterinarians, so it is meant to give our community a platform to connect, to share our stories, to lift each other up, and to support each other. Most of us work solo as lone wolves, right? So for me, it's been really powerful to be able to physically hear the voices of my colleagues from all over the world and to get a chance to feel that we truly are part of a community of very real other human beings who get it. While you may be alone in that little bubble of your own vehicle when you're on the road seeing patients, I welcome you to join our community by tuning into our own podcast when you're on your way to your next house call. Whether you're a super experienced house call vet with 30 years of experience, you're a brand new prospective house call vet just looking to get started, or you're house call curious, there will be something for you in this podcast. Each episode, you will hear interviews from other mobile veterinarians just like yourself who are doing unique and innovative things, vets who are sharing their stories, their struggles and challenges, and you can also look forward to hearing valuable information and perspectives from specialists and experts outside of our micro niche. And finally, if becoming a house call veterinarian is something that you've been thinking about exploring, or you're looking for some extra support getting your own mobile practice to feel more profitable and sustainable for you, check out the information in the show notes about my course and our above and beyond supportive private community for members only, plus our monthly group coaching sessions within the House Call Vet Academy. You can also check out my free public Facebook group, which is also called the House Call Vet Cafe, the same name as this podcast, and which is a warm and cozy community for mobile vets to support each other in professional and personal development, in creative entrepreneurship, and in friendship. So thank you guys for spending time with me today. Let's dive into the episode.
If you're looking for help with ultrasound scanning, whether that's choosing a new machine or developing your ultrasound skills, check out the First Opinion Veterinary Ultrasound website at fovu.co.uk for independent machine reviews and online and in-person teaching options. FOVU, simplifying ultrasound.
Hey everyone, today we have one of the most interesting and exciting episodes that I've ever recorded. And I know I say that at every single episode, but this time I really mean it because today we have two amazing humans from the Galaxy Vets Foundation with Animal Help Ukraine. And I am just so honored and moved to be talking with these folks today. So this is basically an organization that is helping animals in the Ukraine via telemedicine. And I started working with them very recently and very quickly realized just absolutely how important this work is and how meaningful and how needed it is. And so I'm so lucky to have two folks from Galaxy Vets Foundation with us today, kind of chatting about the experience. So I wanted to introduce Galyna Danylenko and Andrew Ciccolini. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of them, and we're going to dive in, okay? So Andrew Ciccolini is a medical director at the National Mill Dog Rescue, a large nonprofit located in Peyton, Colorado, and the director of nonprofit initiatives at Galaxy Vets. His background includes serving in the U.S. Army, where he worked his way from Associate Veterinarian to VP of Operations. In addition to his doctorate in veterinary medicine, he has a master's degree in organizational leadership. So awesome. And then we have Galyna joining us from Ukraine right now, which is why we're recording this very early my time for the time difference. So Galyna is the head of public relations at Galaxy Vets. She has 15 years of experience in reputation management, crisis communications, and media relations for cross-section of government and nonprofit organizations. Before diving into the veterinary world, she managed global PR for technology startups. Galyna is passionate about social responsibility strategies, storytelling, and initiatives that drive positive change. Welcome, guys. I am so honored to have you here. Thank you for everything you do. My God.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for helping us raise awareness about this initiative.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you. And also for being a volunteer.
yeah, of course. It's some of the most meaningful work I've done in a long time. So thank you for giving that to me and to, our colleagues for having the feeling that maybe we can help somehow. So thanks. And I always start with this question at the beginning of my episodes. Can you guys tell me what your favorite snack is? And I'm particularly curious to hear about any interesting snacks that might be in Ukraine.
I don't think I have a favorite snack. I kind of like to rotate them. One week I like something, and the other I don't. But if I had to pick one, I would probably choose breadsticks or pretzel sticks thingy. Because when I worked in the office and when I left on time, I would be stuck in traffic for like an hour. And they were a real time killer for me. I tried listening to podcasts or audiobooks, but I found myself, I couldn't focus both on the road and on the driving aspect and listening. So I chose to eat. So yeah, I always had a bag of sticklets in my glove compartment, and they really saved me. And if you wanted to hear about the snacks in Ukraine, it's probably everything connected with bread. So, like we have these crouton things, multi-flavored. They would be salty and all different kinds. So yeah, we love bread.
Amazing. That sounds delicious. Cool. Yeah, I very much relate to needing to rotate through snacks. That rings a bell for sure.
Yeah.
Andrew, what do you
Yeah,
like to eat for snacks?
I'm a total sugar addict. So anything that has lots of sugar, mostly like gummy candies, I actually try really hard not to buy them. But my coworkers at National Mail Dog Rescue love to buy them and put them in the clinic, and then I end up eating them all. So
Uh,
that's my go-to for sure.
Absolutely understood. I recall I got through my internship overnight ER shifts and, subsequent ER shifts overnight with Haribo gummy bears. That's the only way I could have done it. Have you had those before?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a fan of the Coke ones.
Oh, yeah.
The cola ones. Yeah, they're my favorite.
Those are really interesting. I'm mostly plant-based now, like kind of vegan. And so I don't eat Haribo gummy bears anymore, but I miss them terribly.
Sounds like an opportunity to develop vegan gummy bears.
Yes, and there's some really good vegan gummy bears, like really
Are
good.
there?
I have to admit they're just not as good as Haribo gummy bears. Like nothing compares, but oh well, so be it.
Yeah.
So this is a really interesting episode on the show because, of course we have two guests today, and neither of you are exactly house call vets, right? But we are keeping with our international theme of connecting vets and people from all over the world in doing really meaningful work and veterinary work and even humanitarian work. And so I guess we've taken American, Canadian, European veterinary care kind of on the road, and we're actually taking it to Ukraine, right? So in some ways it is mobile veterinary care, right? So I'd love to hear a little bit from you guys about how this project started. What inspired this global mobile initiative?
Yeah. So to understand what inspired it, you kind of have to understand Galaxy Vets, which is
Sure.
a newer veterinary healthcare system within North America, still kind of in the startup phase. But our founder and CEO, Dr. Ivan Zak, who a lot of people know of already, he started SmartFlow, and he's a native Ukrainian. So he emigrated to North America around 20 years ago, went to vet school in Ukraine, and then had to go to vet school again in North America. And the Galaxy Vets, the leadership had always wanted to, had a plan of starting a nonprofit at some point in the progression of the company. And with that background within Ukraine, it kind of pushed it forward. And they were like, okay, hey, we need to help. We also have a number of our employees, I'm not sure exactly how many at this point, maybe 20, 25 that still live and work within Ukraine, Galyna being one of them. So it really had a significant meaning to all of us that, hey, let's help in whatever way we can. And we figured, well, what's the best way we can help? And we felt like that was providing telemedicine services to pet owners within Ukraine. And so that's how we started.
Fantastic. So that connection to Ukraine has been there since the beginning, basically. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And Galina, before this episode started recording, I asked, do you have any questions? And you had said to me, it's very interesting. People always call Ukraine the Ukraine. And you said, we prefer Ukraine. Can you tell me a little bit about that too? And then just a little bit about, how this project got started and your involvement in it?
Well, I feel like adding the makes it a territory, not an independent country. And we have been fighting for our independence the entire time, not just when the Soviet Union broke apart, but long, long before that. I don't know where that the kind came from in English. Yeah. But I've been with this project from the very beginning. I actually came on board with Ivan's previous company, Veterinary Integration Solutions. So I've been around for 2 years here, basically in charge of, telling the world about this initiative, helping draw attention to it, helping attract volunteers, donations, and whatever help we can get.
Fantastic. And how has the project been going so far?
Andrew, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I think there's definitely been ups and downs, but overall it's been going pretty well. So I do want to add, we do more than just the telehealth. We are working with organizations within Ukraine that request assistance from us. So we've been able to provide some funding for supplies for some military dogs, for some police dogs. We've also helped the shelter pay a veterinarian to come in and spay and neuter some pets because a lot of the shelters are just overwhelmed with numbers of animals. So we've been able to do a few things like that. And that's really just based on how much fundraising we can get, which has certainly been a challenge as Ukraine kind of fades from the media. People kind of have moved on and lost interest. So fundraising has become more challenging. But on the telehealth side, it's not going exactly how we hoped it would go, but I feel like it's going pretty well. We have around 200 volunteers, and that's pretty evenly split between veterinarians and veterinary technicians. So it's about 100 of each. And we're really thankful to have them all. People have, it's varied from they've done one shift to we have a couple people that I swear they're on there every single day. And we know everybody has really busy jobs, and we're just appreciative of any time people can provide. And we've surpassed the 4,000 questions from pet owners within Ukraine. And so that's been awesome. We've been able to help a lot of people. There's been some really thankful people, but some of the challenges have been the technology has been difficult, which I think we might get into more later. And then controlling the flow of questions has been an issue. So in the very beginning, we were only getting, maybe 10, 15 questions a day. We had a lot of interest from volunteers. I find it very interesting how the volunteers were kind of like really sad that they didn't have a lot of questions to answer. And I just think in my head, like if this was their job and they were being paid for this, they'd kick their feet up, have their coffee and be like, all right, no questions, but everyone was really sad about it. They're like, just wanted to help.
Yeah.
And now since we've added a Facebook Messenger integration, it's totally flipped. And so which Galyna could probably tell you more, we have marketing ads in the Ukraine to reach out to people through Facebook. If we turn that on, we'll get probably 300 questions within a few hours. And so that has really created some challenges with managing the volume between volunteers. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to ask how you've been able to spread the word. And okay, so that makes sense.
It was so tricky when we were just launching. We needed to balance supply and demand. So we were thinking, okay, so if we pull the plug and then we have our volunteers online, but then we need to start a campaign in Ukraine to let people know that this is now available. But it takes time to raise awareness. And we are really worried that the volunteers would kind of just get disappointed since they're not getting any questions. But now they're overwhelmed with the number of requests because the initiative was taking so well in Ukraine. Almost every national media and local media wrote about this opportunity. And we have social media for Ukrainian pet owners in Ukrainian, where we talk about, pet health advice, what to do if your pet is stressed, or first aid if you found a pet on the street. So yeah, we get a lot of requests, and this is very fulfilling, knowing that you're doing something that is needed, that's in demand.
Yeah, I just want to share my experience and how it's so similar to what you guys are saying on so many levels. for me, when I joined, it seems it was already in full swing, and it was like question after question after question. Like I had a 2-hour shift and I stayed on. I couldn't leave. I was like, oh my God, how do I walk away from all these questions? My God. And like, it's a combination of like obligation, duty, like not obligation in a bad way, in a way of like, this is really freaking important. Like, these questions need to be answered right now. And so, I mean, also at the same time, it just like taps into this very human desire to really help. And in the US, we have so much red tape. Like, you cannot just answer people's veterinary questions, even if you wanted to via telemedicine, even if the person is like, I have zero money, I can't go to the vet, my dog is dying. Like, legally, you cannot come up with a treatment plan, or, even just, give them you have liability issues. And we'll go into that a little bit in a moment as well. But there's so much red tape. Like, what is the board going to think of this treatment plan? Is the client going to be able to afford this or not? There's just oh my God, it's just I think one of the main reasons that there's a crisis in the US or in other parts of the world as well, too. I know it's Europe, Canada, Australia. The suicide problem with people not just being able to help the way that they wish they could. And this is such a human thing. We want to help. And it's such a weird thing, but like in this situation, it's like it seems the doors are just open. Like, just give everything you can. And it's gonna help no matter what you do, and it's just such a special and wonderful thing to know that, like, I can help in an unbridled fashion. I mean, it's very bridled in the sense that I can't be there, and there's certain situations that you're like, "God, I wish I could get my hands on this animal," or, like, do this and that treatment or provide the surgery, and you can't, but, it's not like some artificial, like, red tape situation holding you back. It's like, this is someplace I can really help, So everything you guys said it just resonates so much, and I think is one of the very special aspects of what you guys are doing, just really allowing people to connect as human beings. Just like, I need help. Okay, I will help you, period. Like, good. When else is it so straightforward?
Yeah, and I think to your point, we get the question a lot from our volunteers of, what do we do if, a pet needs euthanized or needs serious treatment and it's just not available? And the answer is really like there's not much you can do except for be there for that person and help support them through that. And that way they're not alone. And I think that has a really big impact just on a human level. And it's just so important that we're there for them. And it's very rewarding for us as well, even though it can be hard.
Yeah. Go ahead, Galyna.
I relate to this so much from a pet owner perspective because, I was a displaced pet owner. My young kitty had problems and, we are so stressed out. We're in a city where we, don't know anyone. We don't have our bed and I don't know. And should I, go find a vet? I found it a random clinic and I called there and they could take me in 2 weeks. So what do I do? Should I take this cat as a stress out already, and take her to the vet? So I was lucky, to have Dr. Sarah Wallace, our VP of telehealth and other DVMs at Galaxy. And I just texted them and they helped me. And it was not an urgent problem. My cat was just stressed and that was, the problem. And I just needed to observe her. But, this peace of mind that I received, and that's the beauty of telehealth, right? So it's also, mental health support for pet owners and not needing to stress out a pet if it's not necessary. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Galyna hit on a big point of just the struggles within the industry in general. Even here in North America, where we don't have a conflict going on, and that's access to care and how it's such a big issue right now. And this is a bit of a shameless plug for Galaxy, but that's one of their big initiatives of trying to address access to care. And we truly believe that telehealth is one of those ways to improve access for the reason, Galyna just said. Maybe you don't want to stress your cat out. Maybe this can be handled from home. Another solution is what you provide, Eve, and that's, mobile vet services and going to people's houses. And that helps a lot of people that have mobility issues themselves and or don't have access to a vehicle or a way to get to a vet clinic, or at least not easily. And it's just so important that the industry starts addressing some of these access to care issues. And we're just really passionate about that. So that's why it was a natural fit for us to provide this telehealth.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I always say that relief work and house call practice pair like chocolate and fine wine. And I think it's the same with telemedicine and house call practice. They're addressing accessibility issues, they are giving people peace of mind, and it's bringing things to the animal. You know, it's stressful for an animal to travel, period.
Honestly, I think that if you can have a service delivered to you more efficiently through online telehealth, through mobile vet, honestly, I would pay more not having to go anywhere because this is more efficient and convenient for me. Of course, if this way is the best for the pet. And that's what we have teletriage for.
Absolutely. And so, can we talk a little bit more specifically about the telemedicine aspect of things? So, telemedicine and telehealth, that's my jam. Like, definitely been one of the early adopters and like immediately was like, oh my God, hell yes, let's do this. And in general, house call vets are some of the real pioneers of telemedicine and early adopters of, anything that can make things easier, a little bit more fear free, a little bit more user friendly, innovating, things like that. That's like the house call vet anthem, basically. And, providing interesting solutions to unusual problems. And so there was a ton of interest when I mentioned this initiative to my group of House Call Vet Academy participants. I was like, oh, they're going to flip when they hear about this. They are going to love this and they're going to all want to be involved. And a bunch of folks from my group joined, and I'm really proud of them for doing that. And before that happened, I had in my own community, I had a lot of questions, like kind of relating to this red tape. We're so used to being regulated in ways that just like can't just do my job, my God. And so a lot of people were like, are our licenses in jeopardy? Can we provide telehealth or telemedicine to people in another country? What are we allowed to do? Am I going to lose my license? And so, I mean, personally, I feel I don't care. Right now, I don't give a crap. I don't give a flying crap because we're in a war. People are desperate. They don't have any other option. That is a risk I am willing to take. I'm sorry, but for me personally, F it, But like for folks who might be a little bit more concerned and just worried, what exactly are the regulations? Are we allowed? Am I gonna go to jail later? I don't know. Like, can you speak a little bit about, like are our licenses safe by doing this?
Yeah, I think it's a great question and one we do get relatively routinely. And I do appreciate your sentiment because I'm the same way. Like, even if it wasn't allowed, I'd still do it. But we did look into it, and it's an interesting situation in Ukraine. They actually don't even have veterinary licenses within Ukraine, so you don't have to be licensed to practice.
What?
Technically, anybody can, come off the street and claim to be a veterinarian. I don't think that happens. They do have a veterinary school.
Yeah, they do have a diploma, but they don't have a license.
No.
Um,
Wow.
So we actually did reach out to the Ukrainian government and, I'm making up a title because I don't remember exactly who we talked to, but, essentially like the Ministry of Health, and just double checked and made sure it was okay that we offer this service. And they were like, absolutely, please do it. Like, nobody's going to go after you or your license or anything. And the technician is triaging cases and prioritizing them and sending them to the veterinarian. A lot of times, if they're not sure, they'll reach out through our Slack group and ask for support from veterinarians in our, of all of our volunteers, and they'll get that advice. So yeah, it's been great that we can just kind of practice medicine without all these restrictions. It's like just a bit of a dream. If only we could do that in the US, right?
I know. Oh God, I know.
Then one other benefit is, most medications don't require a prescription. They can just go to the pharmacy and we can tell them what to get and they can get it. And that's definitely, that's complete opposite of the US. Like, you need a prescription for almost everything. So,
But for the anti-anxiety,
right.
what?
Yeah.
Those are tricky.
And it's tough because there's a lot of the issues that I've been dealing with are animals displaying clearly that this animal is really stressed out and behavioral issues. And so it sounds like gabapentin is non-prescription there, yet trazodone, you told me this, Andrew. I was like, what can I do? I don't know what to do. There's so many stressed out animals. And I think you told me trazodone is via prescription. I think fluoxetine, Prozac might be under prescription. I'm not sure about that one. but gabapentin isn't. So you just basically give them the dose and they find it online and they order it. And that I have a little template macro where I just cut and paste, like, if you have a vet near you, please go to see them. But, you might need something like trazodone or, fluoxetine to help with the stress. And if you have no vet near you, check out some gabapentin at this dose. And I cut and paste over and over and over again, that kind of thing. Plus other advice, of course, relating to behavioral stuff. But the stress is crazy. So it's like, oh, of course, the trazodone is prescription. Right.
We almost don't have any explosions here in Kiev now, but when we had, my cat would get so scared, her tail would get so puffy, and she would be hiding all the time, and it was really unusual. So, yeah.
So it must have been a lot of noise, I guess, right? A lot of bombing
Yeah.
and stuff
Uh,
like so it's like 4th of July all the time. Our 4th of July in the US is like a nightmare for animals. So it must
yeah.
be like all the time where you are.
Finally banned fireworks just now, even though, I mean, we're in a war basically from 2014. It's just the full scale war started in February, but there are so many people who migrated from the east and they are afraid from fireworks, not just their animals. You know, I haven't been in a war, but I've always been afraid of fireworks.
Yeah, PTSD is a very real reason that people have that firework gut reaction. And even if you don't, I mean, we've all watched movies, we know what that sounds like. And I mean, it's like the sound of fireworks that like you feel it in your core. It's like your whole body shakes. It's crazy. So I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
So, Galyna, can you tell me where are you located now? What's it been like over there? Like, are you okay? What is like your, being there in the middle of it all? What's it been like just from a human perspective?
Oh, so many aspects to this question. I'm now back in Kiev, the capital, where I live. I did relocate for like 2 months and a half to Western Ukraine, but then we came back. It's very hard to describe the emotion. The whole world saw pictures of destroyed buildings and, murdered people on the streets, but it's very different, experiencing this firsthand. It's very different. Just even watching the news is different than, going on a street and seeing bullet holes, gun holes in people's windows, and you're just thinking that there probably were people here. Anyway, so it's a combination of, feeling helpless, feeling unsafe. Just a week ago, they shelled an apartment building in Kiev, not far away from where I live. And one person died. It was a father, and he covered his 7-year-old daughter with his body, and he was killed. It was just so random because Russians are deliberately destroying civilian buildings. Last week, they shoot a supermarket with 1,000 people. There were no military objects, no factories, no strategic, no nothing. So yeah, it's like living with a feeling that you're alive one minute, the other minute you may not be. But at the same time, we're trying to stay very focused. We try to, because, again, in Kiev, it's been relatively quiet. The real hell is in eastern Ukraine and southern Ukraine. So where we can, we just try to live our life, go to work, do our business, make money, pay taxes, because this is what supports our
Pay
economy.
taxes? What the hell?
Well, that's what our economy needs, like
Yeah.
volunteer when we can.
Yeah.
We need to stay, well, at least that's what I'm telling myself, that I need to be focused. Being depressed or whining is not helpful.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I think the whole world has been truly inspired by the strength of Ukrainian people. It's certainly inspired me, and continued, like, the chance to work with all of you has just been incredible, and it keeps me motivated every day to keep this project going.
Absolutely. Wow, thank you for sharing that. I think just hearing a little bit of a perspective of someone who's literally living it and going through it is so powerful. So thank you for sharing that. And God, so inspired by your strength and your positive attitude too. If you were depressed and complaining, that would be completely okay and warranted as well. So, I mean, you're allowed to feel, but yeah.
After the war, after we're done, we can afford whatever.
Yeah.
But right now, we need to stay focused.
Absolutely.
I don't honestly like, I don't remember that I really cried or let myself cry before the war, but just seeing support of people is what makes me sob. Just, seeing that everyone is reaching out and feeling for us and trying to help.
Yeah, for folks who are listening and not watching, I'm getting a little teary-eyed here myself. But kind of moving on, I've experienced some interesting challenges providing care to folks in and around Ukraine, ranging from hearing people talk about what you just mentioned, like we got bombed, I don't know what to do, just like in a real state of crisis. And a lot of it is kind of, Andrew, as you said, providing emotional support. I mean, we all know that veterinarians are huge-hearted organisms, and that we, most of the time we're half therapist, half doctor. Like even here in the US, people want to just tell their life story or, story of every animal they've ever had. And so we're used to that. And, it's just sort of interesting because this is a place where you can see really people need someone to hold space for them, someone who understands and who cares about them and their animals just as they do. And so I've seen people talk about that, kind of the emotional aspect, and their animals probably like just fine. They just need to talk. I've seen that. And we've seen lack of access to a veterinarian. There is no veterinarian anywhere near them, or their veterinarian, someone said their veterinarian had to go off to war, so there's no longer a veterinarian there, or they have no money to afford veterinary care. All of this stuff, and to even translation issues. There's one. It's happened a couple of times where, the translation program takes the word cat and translates it into a different word that is kind of funny. And the things that are happening.
Kitty.
Cat.
Yeah.
Another one that starts with a P. And someone was telling me about, they were trying to find an alternative to Royal Canin food, and it kept translating it into Grand Piano dog food. Trying to figure out, like, what is this Grand Piano dog food? Oh, God. So I would love to hear from you guys, like, what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced from, like, the providing care perspective, like, the kinds of questions that are coming in to everyone, not just me, and, what from the organizational, technological, translational perspective, what are the challenges that you guys have seen and addressed?
From the technological standpoint, I mean, it's been it's been a bit of a dumpster fire.
Oh,
Uh,
Andrew's
so
holding a little, like a paperweight that says, "This is fine," and it has, what is it, a little bear and a fire?
it's the little dog from the meme, when he's like sitting in the fire drinking his coffee and it says,
Oh,
"This is fine."
yeah, yeah.
Dr. Sarah and Marcy turned me on to these things. So um, technology has been a challenge to say the least. So we use a online just a chat platform for people to message us. And the reason we did that is because we need the translation services. Not many people in Ukraine speak English, and certainly very few people in North America speak Ukrainian. And at first it was working fine. And then we started adding in all these integrations, and each integration has come with its own kind of headache. So we have Telegram, Viber, and Facebook. And Facebook, as we mentioned before, is really what has allowed us to reach people the most. But the translator just turns on and off, or it doesn't translate at all. So we've had to do a lot of copying and pasting from Google Translate to get the message to people. But again, I go back to how inspiring it is to see the volunteers, because people have just kind of adapted to it. And I'm sure there's some here or there that are like, I can't deal with this, and they stop. Most people have just been like, you know what, the main goal is to help people, and whatever I need to do, I'm going to do it. And so they just adapt to that copy and paste. Certainly from a case standpoint, there's been some challenging ones for sure. We're very fortunate to have an organization called VetCT that works with us. So if no one's familiar with them, they're based out of the UK, and they have specialists that it's a vet to vet platform. So we can submit our cases to them, and specialists will get back to us with some advice. That helps with some of the challenging cases. We had someone ask about a baby owl once at the very
I'm
beginning.
so jealous. Oh my God.
So they had rescued it, and they were asking like how to feed it, what do they do, and so we worked with VetCT on that. I'm actually struggling with a really difficult case right now. I have a cat. I don't understand how the injuries occurred. Like I haven't been able to tease it out in the chat, but it has really severe facial burns and the cat's just really sick. It's very painful and just trying my best to help them. And, they were concerned because the cat was getting anemic and didn't look like I could find some SSD cream to use on it. And so they were asking me about these other creams they've been using, and they all contain chloramphenicol, which can cause anemia in cats. So I was like, I really don't recommend using any of these. And so we had to try to find a different solution, try to get the cat on some pain meds, just doing whatever I can for the cat. And I'm still working through that case. So it's tough. There's some tough ones out there.
Oh yeah, I had the same problem. I was trying to find something like Entoderm or Animax or, like something that's like safe and I was like, why can I only find this chloramphenicol ointment? Remember
Yeah.
we talked about that a little bit on the Slack channel, or maybe that was with Nick. I can't remember who, but there's such a lively chat on the Slack channel where we're all sort of like, hey, have you dealt with this case? What medication in Ukraine is the equivalent of this? And it's a lot of camaraderie and just like really good vibes, like almost like I haven't seen in such a long time, just
Yeah.
in between Intervet and, just organizationally and things like that. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. It reminds me
Yeah.
almost like, like a MASH unit and more, like you do what you have to do. It's like, to hell with standard of care, to hell with, supposed to textbook. No, it's like, these are the resources we have. This is what we're going to do to help. And we're going to do the best we can, because this is like, we're all smart people. We're all well trained. We have good hearts. Just use that. Okay, people. And
Yeah.
I can't like say it enough times, like how beautiful that is to be able to unleash, what we have within all of us to do that.
I think if you're struggling with burnout just due to repetition and you're bored because you've seen a million ear infections, like this will challenge you. It'll force you to be creative and really use the different skills you've learned and have to kind of dig out from your brain, like, okay, I have this medication. So now what do I do? And what can I get? So it's kind of fun in that aspect.
Yeah, you guys also, I believe, recently added some emotional support resources because while this is so fulfilling, it's also very upsetting. There's no denying that the situations that people are in and the times that we can't help. Like someone sent me a picture of a cat with a severely infected proptost eye and a kitten. And I'm like, they need surgery. That has to come out. Like I can give you pain meds. I can give you antibiotics. I can support everything, but that eye's got to come out and I can't help you. And it's so heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And so I mean, we're getting, potentially secondary traumatic stress exposure. There's post-traumatic stress that's primary and secondary. I just actually, this is a lot on my mind because I just finished certification for compassion fatigue professional certification and, kind of leaned a lot into this primary and secondary post-traumatic stress syndrome. And in this context, of course, there's going to be a lot of post-traumatic stress exposure for anyone that's helping. And I think the ability to be unhindered in helping ameliorates that, but the fact remains we're seeing some terrible, terrible things and we're hearing about terrible things. And so I was just so impressed and moved that you guys found a way to provide emotional support for us as well. So if you could share a little bit about that, I would love that.
Yeah, there's actually two sides of the coin to that initiative. And, burnout prevention is like a core tenet of Galaxy Vets. And so we really wanted to incorporate that to our foundation as well. And we're very fortunate that we have someone named Dr. Claire, who's a family medicine physician and psychiatrist, who's volunteering her time for all of our volunteers. And so she's willing to do both group sessions and individual sessions. People can message her on Slack if they have any questions or just want to debrief and talk about the day. We're hoping to schedule some classes just on well-being as well, just to help people, not necessarily just with the work they're doing in Ukraine, but just to life in general and the stresses of the veterinary community. And then the second phase of our project is actually we want to provide that same resource support to Ukrainian veterinarians. So we have a veterinarian based in the UK named Dr. Petra Agatha. She has an intense personal focus on well-being. She's a radiologist by trade, but also has a lot of training and background on well-being. And we actually connected her with Dr. Claire, and they're partnering together to provide emotional well-being support to Ukrainian veterinarians at the request of some veterinarians from Ukraine. So we're kind of very recently standing that up and hoping to provide those services for anybody that needs it.
God, that's so moving. I'm so glad that you guys have such a broad reach. Like, this initiative extends farther than I even realized. So congratulations. And it's just so wonderful. And thank you for doing this. And just thank you. It's kick ass.
As part of the foundation, I'm just remembering this story that really moved me. I was talking to this veterinarian. He's from Sumy, which is in eastern Ukraine, and it was one of the first cities that was invaded and occupied and heavily shelled. And obviously, like half of the city was wiped out, including the veterinary practices. But the veterinarians stayed and tried to work because animals need their help. And this kind of dedication, oh my God. And we are also raising funds to help buy equipment for those practices because they're so dedicated. They're trying to stay and work.
Unbelievable. Those are true heroes.
And
God. Wow. So, how do people get involved in this project? If people want to either sign up for shifts, if you're a vet tech or you are a vet or you're a vet assistant, how do people get involved in these shifts? And if someone is not a vet or in the vet industry who might be listening to this, or even anyone who is, if someone wants to donate or give money, how do they do that? How do they get involved?
Yeah, so we always say there's kind of three ways to get involved and help, and pretty much everything runs through the foundation website, which you can also find through all our social media as well. But if you're a veterinary professional interested in volunteering, there's a link there to sign up and just submit your information. And then usually within a few days, we kind of send you all the sign up information to get involved in Slack and some training videos, and then calendar to sign up for shifts, which will provide your login information. And if you're not a veterinary professional and you're able to donate funds, we definitely need them. We have a lot of projects going on, like Galyna mentioned, trying to buy veterinary equipment can get very expensive. So if they're able to donate, that's awesome. That's on the website as well. And then the last, if you're not able to do either of those, is just help share our message. If you can't donate money, just share that link on or share our posts from social media. So just so that we can reach as many people as possible. So those kind of the three ways to help.
Fantastic. One other question. Do you guys accept expired meds? Is that something you guys are doing, or is that not really on the radar? Because as we all know, a lot of expired meds are perfectly good. Just you can't sell that to a client.
Yeah, I think right now we're not. The logistics of shipping from North America to Ukraine, not to say that we wouldn't, but right now there's a lot of other organizations bringing in medications. And so right now that's not a focus of ours, but things could always change in the future as different organizations drop off, because we're definitely staying for the long haul.
Amazing. I was just like kind of going through my inventory and I was like, I have all this expired medication. That's what kind of prompted me. I was like, what do I do with this? God. But yeah, maybe in the future. And that makes total sense that, it's a whole different set of challenges to physically ship things over there. So I hear that. So we've got 2 more questions left before we close up. And I wanted to just kind of open it up. Any other messages you'd like to share with our listeners, Galyna or Andrew? Anything else that I haven't asked about that you'd like people to know?
you want me to start?
Yeah.
Well, I have 2 messages. First, I really, really want to thank our volunteers, Eve, for helping out. I read this quote somewhere and I don't remember who said by, but I really loved it. It said that a volunteer is not a person who has time, it's a person who has a heart. Uh, and it's to the point. I think veterinarians, technicians, nurses, they have so much on their plate. They are overworked as it is, but they are still taking the time, to do this. And whoever is still hesitant to volunteer, even an hour of your time can make such a difference. So please do that. And thank you. And I guess my second message is for all the people. We really ask you not to forget about Ukraine. I know there's a lot going on in the US and in the world and in everybody's personal lives. But our biggest fear is that the world will forget about us or kind of learn to live with our problem, similar to how people learn to live with chronic diseases so that they don't even notice them. And this is the worst that can happen, because only thanks to everybody's help, we've been able to stand up, and to fight. And we are really shielding the world from this barbaric aggression that Russia started. And believe me, they will not stop on Ukraine. I think that we really need to remember the lessons of the history. I personally love history, and my father is a historian. And I remember it very well how the world was watching silently Hitler take over the Sudetenland in 1938, and what it led to. And then the world was silently watching Russia's annexion of Crimea in 2014. And look what's happening now. So please don't forget about us. Please keep talking about Ukraine. Please donate to the armed forces and whatever organization that is close to your heart. There's a lot of them. If you don't want to donate to the military, find another organization. But please don't forget about Ukraine.
We won't. Thank you. Thank you so much. Andrew.
I don't think I can add anything to that. That was the perfect message. So
Absolutely. I'm so thankful for you guys being here, and I'm so moved.
Thank you. I was wondering, you have a big cup. Do you fill it all the way to the top?
I do.
It just looks so big. Is it all coffee?
It's mushroom coffee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's mushroom coffee. I just found this amazing new mushroom product, by the way, and it is called Ryze, Ryze, like rhizome for mushrooms, and I've been absolutely obsessed with it. So thanks for asking, and that actually brings me to my next question, which is, since we're in the House Call Vet Cafe podcast, can you guys tell me what's your favorite tea, coffee, beverage to drink?
I'm boring. I like just black coffee. That's what I drink every morning.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I mean, every once in a while, get one of those fancy drinks from Starbucks or whatever, but most days it's just regular black coffee, and I like to try different kinds all the time.
Awesome. Very cool. What's your favorite
Oh,
Starbucks drink?
I like their vanilla fraps.
Solid. Solid. How about you?
The same. Hardcore black coffee. Good morning. That's all I need. That's the reason why I wake up every day, just to have that coffee.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today, and can't thank you enough.
Thank you as well. It means a lot to us to have us on and to volunteer and to share our message.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the House Call Vet Cafe. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never have to miss an episode. This podcast is made specifically for you, so don't be shy if you'd like to reach out and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as The House Call Vet Academy, where I also share more valuable content. If you're interested in learning more about consulting for House Call Vets or the House Call Vet Academy online course and community, please click on the link in the show notes. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of the House Call Vet Cafe.